Hello.
Hi.
So welcome everybody. This is episode 3 of Useful Strategies for Merchants During a Crisis. And today I have Itai from YotPo joining us, who's going to talk to us about how their platform can help merchants during these difficult times. So Itai, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a brief overview of what YotPo is all about?
For sure, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me today. I wouldn't put you under the humiliation of letting you read my last name. So my last name is Vladomirsky. Originally from Israel, I moved here in the summer of last year with my family. Been with YotPo for roughly 4 years now. I'm partnership director of EMEA, so I'm leading the channel team here at YotPo, which oversees partnership with agencies, system integrators, tech partners, and platforms alliances. Um, Basically, for those of you that don't know YotPo is an e-commerce marketing platform that aggregates under one rooftop a handful of different capabilities and features, everything from user-generated content such as reviews, visual content, images and videos generated by the community post-purchase or through other channels, to loyalty. We also provide loyalty programs and referral programs that integrates with the user-generated content. And we've recently acquired an SMS marketing company by the name of SMS Bump. And now we also have the ability to communicate with, to allow our merchants to communicate with their community via SMS with the knowledge that they aggregated using user-generated content and loyalty.
Brilliant. So that's quite a lot of stuff you can offer merchants out of one platform.
Yes.
Am I right in saying that it's also now available to all Magento merchants out of the box?
So that's a very good point. We are a Magento partner for the past 4 years now. 2 years ago, we signed a premier partnership agreement with Magento, and last year ever since last year, we are natively integrated in the Magento Adobe platform. So you can actually flip the switch from the Magento backend on YotPo and have UGC out of the box, essentially.
Perfect. So really easy to start using it if you're
Yes,
a Magento merchant.
absolutely. I will say it's from version 2.3.3, but even before that, we have cartridges and pretty easy integration as well.
Okay, cool. So what are the key trends that YotPo has been seeing since the beginning of this whole sort of COVID-19 situation?
Sure. So I guess there's a few ways to kind of answer that question. From obviously we from So let me kind of segment my answer. I'll answer that question from existing client point of view. How are we seeing the trend with our existing clients, and what types of trends we see from new clients coming and inquiring information on YotPo? So obviously by now we all know that there's the obvious industries that are more affected than others, like fashion, for example, and entertainment. Entertainment in terms of travel and hospitality, but then there's the one that are actually on the rise. Cosmetics, for example, which is an interesting one. Sports and outdoor, babies and kids, entertainment and media. I aggregate some data that we have from Europe, and we saw actually everything that has to do with entertainment and media under the YotPo umbrella actually had a 30% increase in the last 2 months. So there's definitely there's a lot of kind of clients under that vertical, but it's really interesting to see that people are spending hard more than usual on those things. And if you think about it, really makes sense. Stuck in a home, you're thinking how I can change my scenery, and oftentimes entertainment and media available online is the way to do so. So that's kind of the trend that we see from existing clients. That data is basically based on the number of order volume that we see from our existing clients. And from new business, we see a lot coming from home and garden, sports and outdoors. A lot of big companies wanting to go direct to consumer understanding now that they're very limited with their Amazon capabilities. So we actually got some really big inquiries in the past 30 to 60 days from companies that are relying heavily on Amazon and wanting to double down on direct-to-consumer at this time, understanding that the landscape of the e-commerce world will change completely post-COVID.
Yeah, no, we've definitely noticed that as well. So we've had various inquiries, mostly from merchants who want to start going direct to consumer, who were previously supplying shops or restaurants or bars, that kind of thing. So, you know, we've actually produced a turnkey solution that we can offer merchants if they want to get online for the first time. And we announced that about 3 weeks ago. So, and that's getting quite a lot of traction. So I think that when you're relying entirely on selling through others, it puts you at risk of situations like this, not just systems, you know, situations like COVID-19, but also, for example, if your retail network, if you're supplying to a large retailer and they go out of business or they go into administration, then, you know, you're at risk, basically. You lose a large proportion of your sales. So these merchants need to understand how to do distance selling, but they also need to understand how to engage with customers. And that's a learning curve, a very steep learning curve for them.
Absolutely. And one more thing kind of to complement that thought, because I really think that you're on the money there, Sarah, and that's the same bet we're doing here at YotPo. We believe it's not just the landscape of the actual fulfillment that's about to change. I know a lot of Israeli companies, startups in the fulfillment area that are really kind of scaling now, giving the ability for big kind of conglomerates the ability to have their own fulfillment capabilities. But at the same time, what we see is also that the age group that actually communicates and deals with e-commerce, you know, my mom, for example, she never bought much online. And if she did, she only went to a handful of known websites. And now during COVID, being stuck at home, she's much more open and inclined to try new things and order from new places. And once that's, you know, this kind of isolation period will end, she will still have the experience of interacting with new brands, interacting with new websites, and internally her consumption behavior will change completely, right? So if it happened to my mom, you know, and we have billions of people worldwide, we can only assume what's going to happen on scale.
Well, that's right. So, and also if you're suddenly springing up a new business and supplying, you know, a new set of customers that have never heard of you before, you've got to think about how you retain them when the lockdown finishes as well. So engagement and loyalty and rewarding them for, you know, taking that leap of faith with you when they're used to buying from other merchants, that's all super important. And we're certainly having a lot of discussions about that. Most of these companies are sort of just struggling to fulfill these new orders, you know, because they've not done this sort of thing before, so they have issues with picking and packing and so on and so forth. But they need to think about the customer retention aspect. So a lot of them don't even know that they should be emailing these customers regularly, letting them know about new products, but they also don't even know how to reward them or what kind of you know, reviews and ratings to put on the website and things like that. So all of that is super important. Otherwise, they'll just go back to what they used to do before the lockdown. So how are you seeing a sort of change in demand from some verticals in the market for user-generated content or loyalty programs or, you know, SMS messaging? Are you seeing sort of spikes in certain verticals for those sorts of things?
So that's a really good question. I'll try to kind of to connect your question to what you said beforehand on kind of the changes in the market. And I'll start with the latest. I'll start with what we see from SMS perspective, because that's really interesting, and that's somewhat of a new area for us because we only acquired SMS Bump, which is a great company that's been in the market for a few years, a couple of months ago. And what we see from SMS is really interesting. We actually saw a 50% increase in SMS marketing usage from March of 2020 to last month, right? So in 1 month, SMS as a marketing channel grew by 50% in our client base, which is quite substantial, over 1,000 clients globally. We also saw an uplift of 77% in MMS usage. So I think a lot of people don't, a lot of businesses were somewhat so they push back on using SMS just because it can look a bit boring. But now with MMS, you really have the ability to customize that content that will look more appealing to the consumer. So we saw a huge uplift in that as well. And more than anything, from surveys that we ran throughout our thousands of clients base, we heard that 50% of our customers actually said they prefer to be engaged through SMS during these times. So one thing and one tip that I can give merchants is don't be afraid to over communicate. Don't be afraid to send those messages. Don't be afraid to send those emails. Now is the time to really kind of double down on the consumers that bet on you, right? People try new things. Let them know how, ask them for feedback. Ask them, you want to improve as a business. Ask them how you can do that in their eyes. So it's not just about rewarding them on, you leave me a review, I'll give you 10 loyalty points on my next purchase. That's a very simple way of doing loyalty. I think that the actual action of reaching out and asking, what did you think about my service? What did you think about my product? That for itself kind of puts you in a much higher position, right? And a lot of people think that if I'm just going to send an email, that's going to be enough. But looking at kind of open rate of emails and response rate of emails, you're not really getting that kind of engagement that you want. Doing that via SMS, we have roughly 90%. We have 99% open rate in SMS, 90% in the first 3 minutes of sending the email, and 30% engagement rate with SMS links. Okay, so you basically, you quadruple the likelihood of the consumer to even know that you engage with them.
Yeah.
So I would say the first thing is send a message via any channel, and that's kind of the first way to build that loyalty retention for the long run, because you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's one tip. The other tip is user-generated content is king. At a time where kind of content is changing constantly, and you really have to kind of keep up to date with what's going on. When people buy products, they now use their product in their kind of privacy of their homes. People are more than likely to take pictures of their product that they just acquired if you ask them to. So we see a conversion rate of 10% from buyer to reviewer, and roughly 10% conversion rate of people that left a review to people that left a review with an image. So let's do the math for a second. So if I have 1,000 orders per month, I can have roughly 100 reviews, and then I can have from those 100 reviews another additional, let's say between 10 and 15 photos or videos that I can then use on my website.
And
right?
you can, and merchants can curate those, so they can pick and choose which are the good, what the good content is over the not so good content. Because
so you can definitely moderate the content, and like you mentioned, you can curate also that content from social media. So if you have a big Instagram community and you saw a really beautiful picture that somebody uploaded in their own will to social media, you can curate that photo, send a message to that person, thanking him for posting an image of your product, asking him if he would like to be featured on your website, and then creating a much stronger connection with that consumer, right? Yeah. So not only are you leveraging UGC, you're also rewarding the person that uploaded that UGC to social media.
Yeah, so that's very powerful. It creates a kind of a deeper relationship with the customer, doesn't it? Because they feel valued.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In how they're using the product. So, are there any particular, just going back to loyalty, you mentioned loyalty briefly. Are there, because I know that your platform allows merchants to reward customers for all sorts of different actions. So they can be rewarded for purchases, they can be rewarded for posting on social, they can be rewarded for all sorts of things, for recommending other people to the product range and so on. So are there any particular things that are working better than others at this point in time? in terms of rewarding customers?
So I'll answer your question in quite of a different way. First of all, I'll answer your question of what's working. And you mentioned that there's a few ways that we can reward our community. One of them is by referring their friends to us. So Sarah, if you really enjoyed, I don't know, the latest version of Nike running shoes, and you want to recommend your best friend, it's very easy for you to do so, right? So YotPo is also a refer a friend platform. We can do it under our umbrella as well. And what we see is, and it's extremely interesting, we see basically that the average number of referrals per referring customer is doubling. Okay, so let's say I have, out of my client base, I have 20,000, or let's say 20, it's easier. I have 20 referring clients. If in February those 20 clients will, on average, generate 100 refers per month, in March, we said for every referring client, we have roughly 10. So that's double. So if you have 20 referring clients, people that are actively recommending you to other people, you can actually have 200 new consumers from those 20 that actually recommend you. That's a huge spike in recommendation. That's only with 1 month, February from March. That's really kind of something that works extremely well. And I think it really makes sense, right? If people have something, like enough time, enough of something now is enough time. And usually you use the time. I speak with my siblings, with my friends 2 or 3 times a day. People like to talk with each other, share kind of recipes, share experiences, share consumption, and those conversations lead to future consumption as well, right? So allowing your community to really kind of be your presenter and be an ambassador for the brand can really prove itself as a really efficient channel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting and super powerful. So basically, if you're not doing referrals, then you're missing a trick at this point in time.
100%, yes. It's the cheapest at a time where the acquisition channel just, acquisition costs just go through the roof, right?
Yeah.
See how much money now you have to pay for a keyword versus 2 or 3 years ago, and you will see a significant increase. One thing that never changed and will never change is the power of referring a friend. You already have the kind of that trustworthiness. You already have kind of and now you also have the incentive, right? You have the incentive to listen to your friend because you're going to get maybe a dedicated discount, and also you're going to have a kickback for recommending a friend. If it's loyalty points, if it's actual pounds for next purchase, you can actually be on a higher tier for the brand if you're recommending a friend.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. So I'm just conscious of the time because we have half an hour for this. So I wanted to finish by asking you more of a personal question, which is, how are you finding this whole, how are you adjusting personally to this whole lockdown situation? What are you finding the most challenging?
Yeah, so I have 2 kids under the age of 5, and my amazing wife is working full time as well. So kind of, I think juggling between being really on top of my job, being on top of what's going on in the market, staying connected to the different team members, stay connected to the different ecosystem, whereas it's kind of maintaining my sanity with kids and being kind of, a giving and loving father at this time is really an interesting and a good challenge, with honesty. I really think that I'm hoping at least to be a better person on the other side of that, of this crisis, by really kind of working on my patience, counting my blessings, essentially being grateful for the things that I have, and looking around me and kind of seeing that, my problems a month ago or 2 months ago are far from being my problems now. And so just, to be grateful, you can kiss and love and hug the people that you love, and hoping that you can do the same thing once this is all over, is really kind of one thing I'm hoping to take from this. The rest will be fine. Economies collapse, economy grows, we'll be okay as overall. If we can improve as human beings, that's kind of a personal achievement.
I agree, and I think that's very inspirational. I have to say that I have 2 children as well, and I'm probably not being as patient as you are.
I only put I only put a facade. That's it.
Anyway, so thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to chat.
Pleasure.
And yes, I will hopefully speak to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Sarah. Hope this was useful.